Hey, welcome back everybody to Married with Kids, where we are hitting some of the most common and often crazy challenges that we're facing in our marriages and in parenting. I'm Mark Brewer, I'm your host today, and joining me all the way from Florida today is our friend, your friend, my friend, the world's friend, Andrea Lathrop.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mark. Good to be with you today. I'm excited to talk about, I think, one of the most challenging things, right?
Money.
Money.
Right, and not just talking about money, but how do we talk about money? That sounded kind of weird, but that's really what we're hitting today. So if you were going to say Justin Lathrop, for instance, that guy you're married with, if there was a category or even a specific expense that you see showing up regularly on y'all's bank account that was creating energy or sidebar conversations or feelings in you.
How much
Yeah.
for me?
Yeah. What would that be?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why this bothers me because it's not really fair. But his lunches out, like when I see Chipotle come through on, the checking account, it just bothers me. It has bothered me for a while. Like, why did you need to go out to eat today?
Right, instead of making your lunch, right? Because you would prefer for him to make a peanut butter sandwich.
Take it with him in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
But he likes to eat out.
He
And he would prefer Chipotle rather than Taco Bell for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. So that's probably created some conversations around money that you guys have had over the years. And a lot of people have those conversations or they don't have those conversations, and it creates a lot of extra energy. I think about the difference between how Melanie and I spend. You know, a lot of times you'll hear couples, one's the spender, one's the saver.
Yeah.
And that's not actually how it is with us. We're both spenders and savers, but it just depends on the category. So if you're talking about spending on some kind of fitness equipment or some type of self-help program, dude, I'm down. I'm ready. I mean, I'm the easiest sell for the original late night, hey, here's how you can grow and become the greatest leader in the world packet. Man, they get me every time on that stuff. And Melanie just makes fun of me. But if you're talking about, hey, let's build a pool and build another house, Melanie's ready to go right now. She's already run the numbers in her mind. So I was thinking, if there's any conversation for us that has more likelihood of becoming very impassioned and very energy fed, it's going to be the money talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have that same type dynamic in our home. So I'm very excited to have with us this next guest, a licensed counselor, and has a lot of skill in helping couples land these conversations. He's coming up next with us.
Peter Pinyon, it's so fun to have you with us. Yes.
Good to be.
Yes.
You are a professional counselor. How long have you been counseling people, helping people?
I'm going on 10 years.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and would you agree with Mark and I that this subject matter of money, it's a thing? Are we making it up, or is it a thing in marriages?
It is totally a thing.
Okay.
And it's a thing because it's almost, we have to rephrase it as a trigger. It's like, it's not even the deepest thing, but it's the thing that we think is the thing.
That's it. Listen, it is a trigger. Man, like I'm getting emotional right now just thinking about it. Just the word money in my house creates this huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you think, why is that? I think for me, my experience has been like there is all this stuff underneath it. It's the home I grew up in, my values, that my fears about the future or us not being on the same page. I mean, why is it such a trigger?
Yeah, what's the background there? So we know that it's a trigger, but usually, at least from my understanding, when we're talking triggers, that just means there's a lot of information behind there that causes that to be a trigger. What does that look like? Why is that?
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know I am unashamedly a cognitive behavioral care provider. So a lot of things have to do with the mind and the thoughts and the beliefs. And that's what I would say. So what is it that it's triggering? It's triggering our thoughts. It's triggering our beliefs that are down deep. And for some of us, Money symbolizes security. And some of us, it's power. Some of us, it's protection. It might be the provision of God. It might be the provision of the family, the breadwinner. So money has this symbolic value to us. And so sometimes you're in the same conversation, but one of you is talking about security and one of you is talking about enjoyment.
But you've only said the word money or budget, but you haven't, I guess, taken time to unpack, okay, what does that really mean to me? Like, how do you do that?
Because it's like you said, Mark, you guys are spenders and savers in different ways. So it's easy for me to look at your spouse's spending and be like, well, that was a dumb thing, or that wasn't the right thing. Sometimes I get home and I just feel like I'm the package taker-inner. Lindsay's shopping on Amazon.
Yeah.
And that's my job. I get there and I make sure that the package goes from the outside of the door to the inside, so no porch pirates get it.
Right.
And I'm like, we didn't even talk about what is this? And the kids are like, Dad, you brought us something. And I'm like, I don't even know what's in there. They're like, can we open it? And I'm like, yes, Mom. I don't know. So when it comes to those things, it's like, it's so easy for me to look at that and like, there's our provision. She's spending our provision, or she's spending our security. I mean, that could have been retirement. So I grew up in a lower socioeconomic bracket. So for me, it's activating security. And there's not enough. There's a scarcity mindset that gets triggered when we talk about money. I wish that we were on camera when Lindsay and she's an MBA grad, so she's got all the numbers and stuff. She said she wanted to talk finances, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'd love to dream with you. That's what I was thinking. We're just going to dream. And she opens up her laptop and I'm like, oh no. And then she turns the screen and shows me the spreadsheet. And it was the most beautiful budget I have ever seen. I mean, it had formulas and all kinds of different commands in it, and I'd never seen anything like it. And I just started to sweat. I'm like, I don't even understand what this is. I haven't even graduated my master's yet. I'm not even sure how to comprehend this. So there were those triggers for me. And I think for her, money means stewardship. Mm-hmm. Like, it just means like you manage it. You need to show that you are a good manager. That God has entrusted you with this, and you need to do this. And I'm like, I want to save it. I'll give it away if He tells me to. But other than that, I need to make sure that we stay safe. I don't want to stand up under a bridge.
Is there a good time to have those conversations? It sounds like to me, it's just sometimes we go into this money conversation uninformed, like we don't actually know what's in the bucket. It says money on the outside. Both of us are carrying this money bucket to the table, but we're not sure what's there. How do you, are there some tried and true processes or steps to get into that conversation without blowing each other up?
I think that's a good question that you just need to talk about. When is it best? I know sometimes, because it's not a trigger in the same way to Lindsay, like she's thinking stewardship and management, that I'm kissing her goodbye about to come into the office and see some clients, and she's just like, money, 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 money. And it's like trigger, trigger, trigger. And I'm like a deer in the headlights, because it's such a big deal. So I've had to ask her, I know it's easy for you to talk about it in the morning when I say goodbye, but I need to have like some prep time. So for me, it needs to be scheduled. I need to be able to see it on my calendar. And when I can see it, I can prepare for it. I'll know what I need to do. I'll know that I need to, kind of do some reading on that budget and try and understand some of those formulas. One of my favorite things about this was Lindsay was like, "You're going to do a talk on finances?" And I'm like, yep. Because of the background, because of what it triggers, I'm not teaching people how to make the beautiful budget. That would be another podcast.
Yeah. I feel like one of the thoughts that I'm thinking of is trying to figure out how for Justin and I to kind of sit on the same side of the table and kind of have the money conversation. Like, that's the issue, that's the thing, that's the opportunity on the table, but we're next to each other. Like, that kind of that emotional separation, and like we're on the same team, as opposed to like seeing him on the other side of me, and we're kind of standing opposed to each other with our differences, and going, how do we sit next to each other in this and go, boy, like we're in this together.
Yeah, like what's a couple of practical steps? So you brought up, hey, maybe asking permission. Hey, let's find a good time. Heading on the way into talking with your clients may not be the best time to talk about the budget.
Yeah.
So if you could give us a few practical steps and we could go, okay, we can start practicing these things. What would those look like?
Yeah, I think that it's something that's so big, like we're talking about, that you need to get some training. For us, it was at first I thought that if I was going to prove myself as this breadwinner, this financial leader of our household, I needed to go and get the expertise myself. I needed to reinvent this beautiful budget wheel. And for us, the best thing was getting some training. And our particular training was the Financial Peace University. It was so.
Oh yeah, we've heard about that.
Yeah, we went through that our first year of marriage, and it was a great time to not only listen to it together and have a neutral third party giving us the practical baby steps. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's like these 7 baby steps that you walk through. And it was great just to debrief. On the way home, we would debrief and talk about it. And it was kind of like neutral ground, because we're talking more hypothetically and not like about Chipotle or the golf range or the gym membership or the late night exercise thing that you buy. It's just that neutral ground. So when you get that training, it's kind of like you get this other person. I mean, I couldn't hire Dave Ramsey for an hour, but you can buy these trainings, and there's a lot of other programs, but you can buy these trainings and you have somebody just say this and you can say, oh, I like that. I don't like that. This is how I would do it. And it just starts that conversation.
Well, I love what you said about it being a neutral party. So it's not you guys coming to the table, oh, well, here's what I think and here's what you think, and then hashing it out. It was, hey, let's go see what this person thinks. They've obviously had some success, and let's see if we can learn some stuff from them. I love that neutral party. So go and get educated. What's something that we could do to move this thing forward?
We have to look at it as an experiment. I know that some people have, got really excited with me and they make this beautiful budget like the one that Lindsay made, and you make it and it's great and it's colorful. And then you get really disillusioned when you do the reconciliation after that first month and you're like, we didn't meet it. We didn't, the budget is beautiful. It's exactly what it should be, but it's not, we didn't do it. Our behaviors didn't line up. So it's going to take a while from the time that you make the budget to line up the behavior. So that's where this age of grace needs to be. For some people, certain backgrounds, certain issues, you need to give yourself 3 to 6 months of experimenting. You have the budget and you're starting to get the behaviors closer and closer and closer into alignment. And that already makes us feel so much better, instead of you make the budget and it's like, oh man, we're failures. We first we didn't even have a budget. Now Dave taught us these things and now we can't even keep our budget. So bringing in that grace as you align the budget and the behaviors, that helps a lot of people a lot.
That's so big. Andrea, you talk a lot about that grace and the margin stuff, and I see you kind of nodding your head on that. Yeah, that's great. What else? So if we were going to take some time, we were going to get educated together, we were going to allow for some grace and stepping into this and not feeling like we got to have it. If there was one other piece that would be really beneficial, what would that look like?
I think it'd be cool to have like some personal action steps, because it's so much easier for us to look at the budget and see kind of where we're influencing some of that alignment and just say, hey, this is something, as I'm looking at this is a proactive step that I'm going to take to get us closer there. And so that's a good way to do that, versus me saying, well, you need to stop buying those shoes and you need to stop doing that. Just say, hey, look, what's one area that, that.
Andrea, have you blown it in that way? Because I'm just sitting here thinking of all the times I blew it like that, where it was like so judgment. Hey, if you'd stop doing that.
No, and what's so ridiculous about my Chipotle thing is like, if he looked, he doesn't look. Like, he just totally trusts me, and I'm the one that sees and kind of does all of the management and the stewardship. I identify with Lindsay, I think, in that, in my approach. But I mean, if he looked at my coffee shop budget, like he just doesn't know. So it's like, I know. So then I get to make commentary, but it's like, I'm spending too. It's just on different things. And I feel like, and I'm more comfortable maybe making lunch at home and stuff.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really
Well,
fair.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
When we are able to take those other steps, because again, whatever program you end up choosing is going to give you these general action steps or baby steps, but sometimes we need to make them even smaller, and that's what really helps us. And when we have that, the bar goes here and then we get it, and the bar goes here and then we get it, then you're celebrating together at those meetings. And yes, the budget is here and your behavior is still here, but man, you're making progress. And that builds momentum, and that brings joy into the marriage, and it ends up being something exciting when you end up planning your first vacation together. And it might just be a overnighter, but it's something so beautiful to be able to have the money for it, that you're not taking out debt to have that night away, and it can be really, really fun to do that.
I love it. I'm so glad that you were with us today, because there are a lot of people that are going to be helped by just some of the framing that you've provided. If you were going to give us one last thing and say, after I say this, it's going to be like a mic drop. Anything else to help us on this next step journey and having these conversations?
Man, I don't know if I've ever been kind of a mic dropper.
No
but,
pressure. No pressure.
But I will just say this, that when you can come into this conversation with humility, it really does change things. Because again, when you're on the same team, Andrew, you're talking about being on the same side of the table. We both come with different types of expertise. And when you say we're same team, so I'm humbling myself, I want to leverage your experience and expertise, and I want you to leverage mine. It really helps to provide some of that unity, instead of saying, look, this is where I'm really good, so I'm shining here, and this is where I'm pushing you down. So start with humility. Like, let that be something that's there. And for some of us, I can't even get to that place of humility without praying. So I mean, just very practically, I just gotta say, Lord, this stuff is yours. All of this is yours. Help us here. We want to be, Lindsay's got a great stewardship there. Is that a proverbial mic?
I'm picking up the mic. This is the mic, and I'm dropping it when you said, hey, we might want to start this with prayer. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today, Peter. We love you and so thankful for your influence in our lives and the help that you provide for so many people. And today's been really good, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you guys.
Love you, man.
Love you.
Love you too.
Mark, that was so good by Peter.
I know.
I really appreciated that. I think I'm still laughing about the package thing, because I do have kind of an Amazon trigger finger sometimes. So
yes, you and Melanie.
Yeah. Do you have, I have a thought about a takeaway from that. Do you have a thought?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. I think a mantra in my head often is this, like, Justin and I are different from each other, but we're not necessarily, one of us is not a better person than the other. And so I think about that a lot, and about finances, and Peter kind of ended with that humility at the end. And I was just thinking that we do so much better together when I can go, oh, here's our differences again, but just like, my way isn't a better way, it's a different way. And I have found that a lot in our marriage to help, and especially around finances. Like, my approach is different, his approach is different, but not necessarily better. We need each other. So I think that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Well, and it's so hard to get there. That is a great thought. It's so hard to get there unless you have the humility. And, there's some religious and non-religious people joining us here today. If you are a religious person, that prayer thing is like it was really at the end, because maybe it wouldn't have worked at the beginning. But yeah, after everything and all the skills and things that we know, yeah, you might just want to have a few minutes of prayer and just go, hey, higher power, God, we need some help in this, because landing this is not easy to do. But I love your ideas and what Peter said about, hey, we're in this together. This isn't you or me trying to prove that our way's right, but hey, we're going to go win this battle together. And I love it, man. He was so great. And we're so glad that you joined us here today. And it's been a fun day on Married with Kids, where we are hitting the most common and sometimes the craziest challenges that we are facing in our marriages and in parenting. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you.
Hi, everyone. We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of Married with Kids. If you would like to be a part of an upcoming show, just click the link in the description and submit your idea or comment. Each submission is an entry into our weekly giveaway, so click the link and tell us what you think.